We're in Toyota's entry-level crossover. However, this is the XSE. It's fully loaded at nearly $36,000. Today, I'm going to tell you if it's worth that chunk of change. Does it stand out in the subcompact crossover crowd? Let's find out. Let's start under the hood. The Corolla Cross Hybrid only comes in one powertrain, and it is standard all-wheel drive. There's the hood latch. We have a very heavy steel hood here, but this is the 2-liter Toyota hybrid system. This is a 5th generation setup. It produces 196 horsepower, and like I said, all-wheel drive standard. And of course, Toyota's eCVT here provides excellent efficiency. We'll talk about this sort of efficiency I'm getting here in a little bit. So this is the acidic blast color. It is the two-tone, so we got a black roof. Also on the front here of this XSE, we have the upscale Corolla Cross. Why do I say Corolla Cross? Because you can probably see it right there in the lens, but these are the upscale daytime running light. They also have adaptive front lighting systems, so when you turn the steering wheel at night, the lights swivel with the wheel, which is pretty cool. Blacked out Toyota logo here, which is standard across all the grades. And the only way you can get these fog lights here at the bottom is here on this XSE model. You also have parking sensors in the front. As we come to the side, 18-inch wheels here. The standard wheels are 17-inch wheels, and I actually like the design of the 17-inch wheels a little bit better. Now we have this very distinct fender pattern on the front and the rear. Do you guys enjoy that? Cassie, when she saw it for the first time, she's like, oh, I thought the car was damaged because it's such a strange cutout, or you'd say imprintation on the vehicle. But it does help it stand out in, I guess, the crossover world where everything's starting to look pretty similar. Another Corolla Cross logo here, and you're gonna see a ton of them in the car if you really look for them. On the back here, the badges are blacked out. It looks pretty good. Fully LED lights back here that I'm aware of. It looks pretty premium. I mean, you're not going to see any fancy exhaust tips here. One down there at the bottom, but glossy black bottom portion here, as well as rear parking sensors. This has the optional JBL. It is not standard here on the XSE, but you can get this JBL sound system, which sounds actually pretty darn good. Very impressive for the class, in my opinion, but you can get it on the SE model too. All right, what about this storage? Well, we don't have a spare tire, and that's going, you see a hybrid cable there to power the rear motor. Yeah, no spare tire is a deal breaker for some people, so just keep that in mind. We have a little cargo net back there I'm not going to take out because it looks really cute in that pouch. We also have a tonneau cover. Not a ton of cargo space, but it's definitely more than the Lexus UX stablemate that I reviewed not that long ago. Power liftgate here on the XSE. Well, all-wheel drive badge right there. Of course, all of them are standard all-wheel drive. Pedestrian materials back here that we actually saw in the Corolla Hybrid XLE that I drove this past week, or should I say about a week ago. Only a matte pocket on this side. Unlike that Corolla Hybrid, we do have vents in the back, and you have USB-Cs down here, okay? Like that functionality. The Honda HR-V is a competitor to this car, and it doesn't have, I don't think, vents, maybe not USBs either. I know that vehicle doesn't have an armrest that comes down. Now this is only available on this XSE model. Cannot get it on the base trim or even the middle trim, unfortunately. These seats, these Softex seats, they're okay, but you can only get this XSE with these black seats. You cannot get them. These guys literally stopped in front of the Corolla Cross and were just staring at me while I was filming, but you know how it is. Maybe you don't, but other car reviewers would understand. Yeah, so back to the seats. If you want gray seats, you can only get them on the base 2 trims. You cannot get gray here on this XSE, which is not making me happy. All right, headroom back here, well, there's a little bubble cut out, and so that's acceptable. But you would actually have a little bit more if you don't get the sunroof, because you don't need the glass to retract into this area. A little map light above, and legroom, it's not that impressive. It's better than the UX, I think, that I was in last week. It's definitely not segment leading. I would say the new Kona has much better rear legroom. Nice little cup holder there as we get into the front seat. And we do have smart access here on the front door, which I think is standard across all grades. All right, these roof rails also, by the way, are standard on the SE and the XSE. I don't believe they're standard on the base trim. We've upgraded the materials here. It's hard touch in the back. It's a little bit softer here, but no fancy stitching, just really, really basic. One silver lining here on the door handle. And that's about it. Oh, power seats. I think that is an XSE exclusive as well, but they are manual seats here for the passenger. I do have heated seats up here, a USB-C plug for data port. I am using my wireless Android Auto. I've had no hiccups. When I started this vehicle up for the first time when it arrived for review, it updated the system, and it's been a pretty good system. I've had no issues with it this week, unlike other Toyota and Lexus models with this same software. So maybe it just needed an update. So we have a wireless charger down here, different drive modes. Honestly, I don't know what really the point is. I've been driving in eco mode the whole time this week. I like the traditional shifter, auto brake hold, a little bit of glossy black around here. Honestly, this interior looks just like the Corolla that I was in a couple weeks back. So, you know, soft touch here, but fake stitching, hard touch all the way across here. There's the JBL sound system, and then hard touch piece here, just like the Corolla as well. This sits a little bit higher than the Corolla, so we have this area has a little bit more space to it, but really it's pretty much identical with the Corolla. Underneath here we have a 12 volt, a felt lined bottom here so your things aren't rattling around, and another USB-C. So we have 4 USB-Cs in here, and real stitching right here on the armrest. So I do appreciate that, just like we have real stitching on the edge of the seats and real stitching here on this leather wrapped steering wheel. Appreciate the leather wrapped steering wheel. Something I don't appreciate are these cup holders. They're pretty much worthless unless you have a drink that fits just perfectly in here, because they just rattle around. There's no felt or rubber at the bottom. There's no catch to snug the cup into the corner so it doesn't rattle around. So I honestly prefer to snug the bottle in next to my bag while I'm driving, because it's just, yeah, it's super cheap here. We have a base screen here. I believe it's 8 inches. This is the screen you get across the lineup for the Corolla Cross. However, for 2025 model year, the base Corolla made here in the United States, the non-hybrid, gets a larger 10.25 inch screen. So it's only a matter of time before we see a larger screen here, but as it is right now, we have no announcements for it here on the Corolla Cross. HVAC controls are excellent here with the knobs, simple button for increase and decrease fan speed. It's excellent. The volume knob is perfectly located. It's a good setup. Behind the steering wheel is a 7-inch screen that is only available, there you go, only available in the XSE. The other 2 trims have a smaller screen to my knowledge, but I really like the 7-inch screen, but I can make do with a smaller screen if need be. And I believe the middle and upper grades also have intermittent wipers with adjustable speed, which is not, I don't believe that's on the base grade. Here are your fog lights, which again are only on the top grade XSE here. And here's the sunroof. That's about it. It's a normal size, nothing crazy, but I'm ready to start driving the new Corolla Cross Hybrid. Yes, we have an auto dimming rear view mirror, but not auto dimming side mirrors, but they do have blind spot monitor and they are heated. All right, let's go. Putting it in reverse here with the Corolla Cross. Pretty decent backup camera. The problem is, you know, some of the competitors might offer a 360 camera for this price point, around almost $36,000. I guess if you add the all-weather mats that are optional here, it would be over $36,000, and that starts eating into RAV4 hybrid territory, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, or I should say at the end of this video when I talk about the value of this car and how much money you should be spending on it. Let's just get into that powertrain. It's loud only when you give it the beans. Otherwise, it's super quiet, very torquey, very, very smooth. And it's still smooth even when you have the pedal down. It's just a bit groany. It's way louder than the UX, which has the same powertrain as this. Interestingly, the UX has an optional front wheel drive. And I wish Toyota offered this with optional front wheel drive so we could save a little bit of money here. I think this vehicle, like I mentioned, it's just priced fairly high, at least in this trim, because it has standard all-wheel drive. Some of you guys might love that, but hey, this is an entry-level hybrid from Toyota. That's not the Corolla, right? That you can get that for around $25K. It's a good deal around there, but I wish this vehicle could be had for around the same price, around $25K in front-wheel drive configuration, but Toyota doesn't give us that option here in the United States. I haven't been driving this vehicle as much as I want to, because it's just been like a monsoon here in South Florida this week, lots of flooding going on, so I haven't been driving it a whole lot. However, I would say I've put about 100 miles on it, and I'm getting 49 miles per gallon, 48.8. It's going up right now because the engine's off as I'm just coasting here. All that driving, I would say, has been about 50 miles an hour and under on average. So city driving, you can call that city driving. City driving here in South Florida, I'm not having to run the aircon super heavy. Guys, nearly 50 miles per gallon. It's up to 49 miles per gallon at this point. Extremely impressive fuel economy. Now, throwing this around the turns, the steering is extremely light, but I do like the chassis here. We do have a fully independent rear suspension, unlike the front wheel drive non-hybrid Corolla Crosses, which have a torsion beam in the back. But the ride quality in here, I'd say, is pretty good, and it'd probably be even better on the 17-inch wheel models. Now, if you're going to be taking this on the highway a lot, that's where the fuel economy is going to suffer a bit. I would say mid to upper 30s on the highway, even though, like I said, I'm getting upper 40s here in the city. But I've tested the all-wheel drive Corolla Cross non-hybrid, and I can't recommend that vehicle at all. And the reason is, it was making my kids car sick. I wasn't able to keep a steady speed with my review sample. I was always having to put my foot back into the gas pedal because it just didn't have enough power or torque to maintain a certain speed. It was just really bizarre. And there hasn't been a car on the channel that's made my kids car sick like that before. I just wasn't able to maintain a cruising speed at like 45 miles an hour. I was always in the gas trying to keep the vehicle up to speed on that non-hybrid Corolla Cross. So I cannot recommend that vehicle at all. Here though, none of those issues. This powertrain is not only far more zippy, but it's way quieter. It's better in every single regard compared to the non-hybrid Corolla Cross. And so there's about a $5,000 price delta between entry-level Corolla Cross non-hybrid and the entry-level S trim on this Corolla Cross. I would say it's absolutely worth it. You might be saying, Kirk, that it sounds insane. You're not going to be able to make up that fuel economy. I agree, you're not going to make up the fuel economy, but the experience here is so much better that, yes, this is an easy recommendation on the lower trims on this, and where I can't recommend the Corolla Cross non-hybrid whatsoever. The steering in here is just unbelievably light. It reminds me a little bit of the new Camry. The new Camry has pretty light steering on the LE and XLE trims. It just feels a little artificial, but the car still handles well, so it hasn't really bothered me. And I'm sure if you're, I don't know, a smaller person, you really might appreciate how light the steering is in here. I mean, I can easily steer this car with just one finger. I do enjoy driving this car, but for $35,000, it is too expensive for what I'm getting here. The materials are pretty poor for a vehicle of this price point. So like the Honda HR-V, for example, and even the new Hyundai Kona have much nicer interiors than what we're getting here, better technology, especially on the Hyundai. And so it's just not as comfortable or as cozy. It's much louder than the competition, I would say, as well, with ambient noise. But the powertrain here is just so good and smooth and quiet when you're not pushing it hard that it's hard for me to not recommend this Corolla Cross Hybrid over the competition. But it comes down to the right price. $35,000, way too much money. If you can get the Corolla Cross Hybrid for around $30,000 on the SE trim, which there are deals to be had out there, there are some price cuts at the time of this recording from the dealers. So if you can get an SE trim for around $30,000, goodbye. Really solid buy, standard all-wheel drive, 50-ish miles per gallon in town, and I'm sitting here and the engine's not idling, AC's blowing cold, and it's just a very, very pleasant experience for a city car. Going about 60 miles an hour here, it's not terribly loud, honestly. It's much quieter, I'd say, than the Corolla Hybrid, but you do have a little bit of wind buffeting coming in from this area, the A-pillar area, but honestly, for this class, I would say it's pretty decent. As a highway car, I would much rather have something like the Camry Hybrid. And speaking of the Camry Hybrid, that starts around $30,000. after destination. And I would definitely rather have the Camry Hybrid over this. And you can get the Camry Hybrid all-wheel drive as well. But if you need a crossover from Toyota, a hybrid crossover, this XSE is a no-buy because it starts eating into really quickly the base LE and XLE RAV4 hybrids at the mid-30s price. And those are much better buys. You get a better interior, better powertrain, better ride quality, I would say, even though it's pretty close. This XSE cannot recommend. Get a Camry hybrid, a RAV4 hybrid if you're going to be spending that much money, absolutely. But I need to get around this truck here. Blind spot monitor is great. Instant power and torque. Yeah, I mean, it's loud, but as long as you're able to keep the power needle underneath, or should I say before the midpoint, you don't want it to creep into the power. If you can, not only does that kill your fuel economy, but you start getting the really loud buzziness coming in from this 2-liter 4-cylinder. I wish we had more sound deadening material to keep that engine noise out of this compartment, the cabin in here anyways. But I really like the Corolla Cross Hybrid. Just, you don't spend much more than $30,000 for it. Otherwise, it's just not a good buy. But it's a great buy over the standard Corolla Cross. It's a great buy versus its competition, absolutely. It offers great power amongst its competition. It offers great performance and class-leading fuel economy. So there's very little for me to dislike around $30,000 for a Corolla Cross Hybrid. Any more than that, get a RAV4 hybrid, get the Camry hybrid, and you'll be a much happier customer. Or even the Prius hybrid if you're able to find one of those. That's a better car than this too, by far. But I'm gonna shut it down there. Thank you, Toyota, for sending me the Corolla Cross. Let me know what you guys think of the acidic blast color. It's always a point of conversation, and I will catch you in the next one. Do you agree with me saying that this is probably the best buy in the segment for around $30,000 over the competition? And do you agree that it's not a good buy in this XSE trim around $35,000? I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day. Peace.